This is Beyond with Heather Tesch, where we examine near-death experiences and life itself, hopefully making this life a little better. This is part 4 of my talk with Peter Panagore. Links to the very interesting previous 3 episodes are in the description. Once again, here's Peter. During your near-death experience, you became one with God and you felt that love. In fact, in your book, you wrote that God said, "I love you more deeply than your imagination could ever have conceived. I know you and love you, Peter. You are my creature." What does that feel like?
Safe. Always safe. Never lost. No matter what I do. I've lived, my first death was a risk-taking experience. I'm still a risk taker, calculated risk taker. I ride to the edge on lots of things. I try to control it. I don't like to get hurt. I try to prevent that. But I have this, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of death. And I know that I'm not. I've said between my first NDE and my second one, I said this to my wife. She's the only one who I talk to about it regularly. And one of the things I said all the time was, I'm not afraid of dying. And so that set me in ministry. There was this day where the police department called me up and said, "There's a man with a gun. And he's with his wife and his son, and he's locked in the bathroom and he's threatening them and himself. Can you come to us? He's only going to talk to you." I live in a small town. They put me in a ballistic vest, and there are 2 cops behind me, guns drawn over my shoulders, guns in front of me, up the stairs in this guy's house. And afterwards, the lieutenant, he's like, "You're calm as a cucumber, Peter. What the heck?" I'm like, "Well, not afraid of dying." And when I died, again, as I died the second time, when I realized I was having a heart attack, I was by myself at the time. I'm like, oh, today's my day. I get to go home. I've been waiting my whole life for this. This knowledge of who I am and where I'm from is safety beyond measure. I'm not a fool with my life. I do take risks, but they're always calculated. I still want to stick around for my family. But I'm not afraid of dying because I know love is waiting for me. And I know love is waiting for me not just because of what happened to me, but because in the intervening years, it's become reality in this life. When I came back in the beginning, most of me was still above and little of me was here, and I didn't have access. I've created space for access now. And this safety and security has nothing to do with my physical life. It is my greatest after gift is this. Because I know that I'm always safe.
In fact, I've heard you say several times that you have no faith.
Nope.
And you say that because most of us, we have faith in what lies beyond this life. But you don't have faith because you know.
Yep. And that's why I've been able to do these things in my life that many people think that ministry, and most of my adventures in ministry were, I worked among the most, I worked in, how do I put this in a polite way? I worked among the most desperate people most of my career. And the ones who were most wounded and most traumatized and most potentially violent and most I lived in resort towns, and the well-to-do often funded my ministry. But the people I worked with primarily were the ones that were hurting the most. And the knowledge of my own safety gave me the strength to be calm in situations where if I had behaved differently, I would have been under great threat. And this capacity is not from me. People talk about the gifts of NDE and they talk about being a psychic. I have psychic experience all the time. I'm not in pursuit of my psychic experience. People tell me, "Oh, that's what I was thinking," or "How'd you know that?" or things like that. I'm not like trying to manufacture that. I've had the dead come to me. I'm not trying to pursue that. The greatest gifts I have are patience, compassion, kindness, openness, the pursuit of the oneness. These things that are relational. And they're relational in the vertical in the Christian language, pointing up, and on the horizontal. And because they're relational on the vertical, they become manifest on the horizontal. And these are all from this place of safety. Because how I live my life isn't from my birth to my death. It's from my pre-birth to my afterlife. And it's that part of myself who I pursue. And by pursuing my original self, I make it even safer for me here. Because then it brings heaven present. And as it brings heaven present to me, heaven itself manipulates the world around me. Even as the 8 billion people press up against me, even as I make my own willful choices, the divine becomes the path as I walk. That's safety.
And I also think as you share your story, that it teaches those of us listening that kindness and that love. And we want to carry more of that into this world because of you and what all the other near-death experiencers are sharing.
I think that we individually come back with mandates, but it turns out that the mandate is universal. And the mandate is to live love and light. And that's the message. And that's why here I am, I'm trying to be a spokesperson. At the top of my LinkedIn page, the word is communications. That's what I work in. I work in communications. And the real communication of this isn't in language. The real communication of this is the divine energy saying itself to itself. It's light seeing itself. It's speaking from me to you and you to me, and you living it in your daily life and impacting those around you as you live your life, never necessarily saying a single word about it, but by being it. And that this change, there are tens of millions of NDEs around the world, and is because primarily cardiac care came online back in the 1960s. But lots of people are being saved with lots of techniques now who are crossing over and coming back, but mostly heart stuff. We're all teachers. And if the teacher is teaching love and light and not teaching themselves, what I mean by that is I had enough time in television to understand the value of self-promotion and marketing and promotionals. I understand how that works. But I'm not here trying to promote myself. I'm using me as a tool to talk to the light inside of you. And when a trap, there are traps, and the trap can be when we think that the portion of the light that we've acquired is the totality of the knowledge there is. And that just becomes self-aggrandizing and ultimately destructive, not only to you, but to the people who are in pursuit of the same thing you are. All through the centuries.
It seems like those changes that occur in you and the other near-death experiencers is really quite telling in that this actually happened. And also when I hear about just the magnitude of your experience and how mind-blowing it is, it seems that it couldn't be manufactured by the brain. And yet so many researchers and doctors and scientists say that these near-death experiences are a product of the brain. So what is it that they are misunderstanding or misrepresenting about these experiences when they say that?
I think that they don't have all the data yet. That's for one thing. This is a new science, and some of the science is showing what you're saying. I follow it myself. Some of the science is showing that there's more to it than that. I think that this dichotomy between it's this or that is part of the mistake. That, as I mentioned before, the brain interacts with the near-death experience, and when you come back, all of the NDEs have an experience of consciousness outside themselves. Now, is that manufactured in the brain? Well, if it turns out that that's the truth, that I was completely wrong, I've still helped a lot of people in my life. I've still brought love and light into the world. I don't need it to be one or the other. It doesn't matter to me. I know what I know. I know where I'm from. If eventually the science shows that I've been a fool, then what a fool I've been for the sake of others. So I still win in the end, and so do the people around me. I am in support of the research. I follow Dr. Sam Parnia, who just came out with a new paper. I follow Dr. Andrew Newberg, and his neurotheology. He's a Canadian. I follow all the people at IANS. There's a whole long list of them, including Dr. Grayson. I want the science to continue, but not for my own sake. I want the science to show what I know, and I'm willing to have it show the facts as they are, even if the facts don't support what I know. And I know that that's a contradiction.
But there are lots of contradictions and paradoxes, in fact, during a near-death experience.
It is. It's all paradox. I'm in two places at once. I'm in hell and I'm in heaven. I'm both human and not human. I'm this and I'm that. And it is, reason has limitations that consciousness doesn't. And because of the tools that we have, we can only measure physically so far. So maybe someday somebody will invent a telescope that will see the aura around people. Maybe not a telescope, but that kind of technology to see clearly the energy form. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. Either way, I don't need it to. I want it to, but I don't need it.
I know you've heard this because you've addressed it on YouTube. What about the people that say that near-death experiencers are being deceived?
There's genocide, there's jealousy, there's murder, there's conspiracy, there's patricide, there's matricide, there's, you name it, every human horrible thing done in the name of God in the Bible. So when you get to that passage of even the Satan can disguise himself as an angel of light. Okay, so yeah, maybe, but the dark forces I've seen don't bother with that baloney. They show themselves for who they are. And the light itself, when you see it for yourself, in this overwhelming tidal wave, at death, the divine being needed no introduction. Its power and immensity of truth shone through me, then showed me myself, and showed me the unitive state of my own being. I am not an evangelist. I don't care that they say this. They'll find out for themselves. They can naysay all they want, but I'm not, no one, this isn't an intellectual assent that I've come to by using my reason. And, belief is this assent to to an idea that isn't proven. I don't have any belief. I'm not being fooled, and I don't care what anybody says. Burn me at the stake. This is not going to go away from me. It is who I am. And so let them say as they wish. I don't argue with them.
And when I hear how spectacular these near-death experiences are, it makes me think, if God would allow us to be deceived that way, that's not very considerate. I mean, obviously.
It's not loving at all.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of loving. And then there's those people that say, oh, the light is a trap. Reincarnation, the light is tricking you to back into reincarnation. It's an evil thing. And there's a bunch of people saying that. They've not ever been there either. They've never actually seen the light. If you actually experience the light, that's why 70% of near-death experiencers across the board talk about love and light. We've got nothing to lose. We have no axe to grind. We all come back with this thing where, we're just trying to be nice to people. And it doesn't matter what culture or language that you speak or where you're from or what your belief system was. There's a remaking of the people. The language of oppression is directly tied to the exclusion from heaven. And there is no exclusiveness here. Jesus himself said that. All are welcome. Paul said that. Doesn't matter if you're Jewish or Greek, he said. It doesn't matter. And it comes back to politics and power and greed when the church says, this is your problem. You have original sin. You're a bad person. Lucky for you, only I have the solution. You can't get it from the competitor because that competitor is lying to you. That competitor is false. And yet, so much harm they cause, so much pain they cause.
Peter, what is the most important thing you learned?
Love. End of story. I have two dear friends. One of them is a colonel, and he just retired. And he was in a lot of battles, from Kuwait to Afghanistan. He's an atheist, and I love this guy, and he loves me. I know that he lived a life of honor and nobility, but also of killing. And I have no fear for him at all. My other buddy, who was with me the year before I went on another backpacking trip, we're still buds, also an atheist. I don't care that they're atheists. Doesn't matter to me, because in the end, they're going to see for themselves. I think that that's true for people who attack and people who don't understand. It all comes out in the wash. It's all going to be fine.
And does God care that they're atheists?
No. God's an atheist. He doesn't believe, he doesn't believe in religion. There's no religion. There's no he. There's all there is in the core of everything that exists is the divine love itself. There is nothing other than that. And it loves itself. It's always loved itself. It always will love itself. And because it loves itself, nothing is lost. There might be a long journey between here and there, but nothing is lost, because it's like the Glinda the Good Witch said to Dorothy at the end, something like, "You've always had the power to go home, Dorothy. Click your heels together. You've always had the power. It's always been with you. It's always with us. It's never not with us. It's we who forget." People talk about this is a school. They say that you choose this life, and okay, I chose my life, and I have 1,000,000 probable lives to live, even though I chose this one because of all the choices I'm making. I know that I had a life contract before I came as a child. I saw this in one of my early mystical experiences, to be a messenger for the divine, but it's up to me how to live it. And in the end, when I was dead, Earth was like preschool, and death was like 50 postgraduate doctorates all at once, and not working hard at it, just like kind of be natural at it. Oh, I can do these 10,000 things. Easy. My life here is, all lives here are a passage through here back to home again. And it became easier here as I integrate into my life, not by trying to work it out here, but by leaning back into heaven there, by backfooting myself, putting my weight on my back foot. And my back foot is in heaven. And the more I put my weight back there, the easier it is to live my life here. And does God care that I'm doing that? Not a bit. Because I'm already saved. I've always been saved.
Thank you so much, Peter. Why don't you tell folks where they can get your book, Heaven is Beautiful, and tell them also about your YouTube channel, because they may want to hear more from you after listening to this.
Thank you for asking. My book is available globally at Amazon and Barnes & Noble primarily. It's in Kindle, Nook, paperback, Audible, where it's an international bestseller, and on CDs. It's available everywhere. You can get it online. I have links at peterpanagore.love. That's my website, peterpanagore.love, which can lead you to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is primarily Christianity through the lens of near-death experience, verse by verse. And I bring in the Upanishads and the Vedas and the Buddhist tradition. And mostly these days, I've been working through the Gospel of Thomas, and also this other Aramaic gospel called the Peshitta, which was declared heretical by one of the early councils and kicked out of the church, but has lived forever in the Syrian churches of the Levant. So it's not like gone out of style. It's just been not accepted. And so I try to help people on my channel deconstruct their Christian mental prison and see the light of inside that the teacher was teaching. I teach meditation. I teach Kriya Yoga. I have a live Tuesday class on Zoom. I teach a couple of days a week on YouTube. I do counseling globally and locally, helping people integrate their mystical experiences, their NDEs. It's a challenge to do so. I deal a lot with suicidality, grief, end-of-life care, those sorts of things. Mostly I'm here to be of service.
And we appreciate that service very much. Peter, do you have some parting words that you can leave with our audience?
All you need is love. You can enhance the presence of heaven inside you with effort, but you don't have to. All you need to do is love the people you love and let them love you. It's great to have some kind of spiritual experience, but it's not necessary. Just love people. Be kind as you can. If you have a mystical experience, use that as a lens to see back into it, back into the place where you were. Let it become your wisdom. Let it speak through you and for you. And if you can, if you're able, use some kind of meditation practice to carve a space inside yourself to do that. But it's not necessary. All you need to do is love. That's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those wise words. Thank you for taking us on this incredible journey through your near-death experience and just all of the wisdom that you have gained along the way. It really has been a pleasure talking to you, Peter.
I appreciate you having me on, Heather, and it's really good to get to know you here and haven't met you back there at the IANS conference.
Same thing. Same. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on Beyond with Heather Tesch. Please add comments and questions you'd like future guests to answer. Also, if you liked what you heard, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. That'll help keep this podcast going. You can also go to Beyond with Heather Tesch to look for more episodes.